Welcome to Pagan Coffee Talk. Here are your hosts, Oswyn and Lord Night. Today's topic, we're going to discuss the 13 goals of a witch.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
These were first published in Scott Cunningham's Guide for a Solitary Practitioner, I believe, back in 1988.
All right.
So first of all, we have Know Yourself.
I like this.
That's kind of deep.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this before, again, this knowing yourself is knowing why you do the things that you do.
All right, so instead of knowing why you got upset, it's knowing why you reacted how you did.
Right.
When you got upset.
Exactly. It's like...
so whatever actions you took, why did you do that?
Right. In other words, is understanding, okay, the reason I don't like strawberries is because I ate a bunch when I was a kid and got sick.
Okay.
I know it's simple like that, but you understand the cause and effect there.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about. In yourself, knowing yourself to the point of what it is you actually want versus what you need. I mean, the emotion of need is a whole lot more powerful than the emotion of want.
Right. So this just comes down to knowing pretty much all of your ins and outs and
your quirks and how you look at the world.
Right. And understanding how to use that to your best
advantage. Well, I mean, again, it's kind of like, think about it this way. If you know yourself and you're a person who is prone to depression,
right,
you are going to pick up on the keys or the certain behaviors you keep on seeing yourself going, oh, I'm starting to go into a depression swing. Need to start making phone calls now.
Right. Or I need to start taking these actions. I need to do this. I need to do that to keep myself out of this.
Right. I mean, just like, having panic attacks. When people are you're having a panic attack once you've had one.
Right.
This is not something you forget. And once you recognize that feeling, it's just figuring out what's triggering those.
Okay.
And then trying to figure out, why does this instance trigger this versus not?
Right.
If it's a different situation.
Okay. Makes sense. Well, then we have Know Your Craft.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Know your field of expertise. Pick your expertise and know it.
What if you don't have an expertise? Do you have to have an expertise?
No, but you should state that to begin with. I don't have an expertise. I'm what is that? Jack of all trades, master of none.
Okay. What if you're not even that?
Yeah. Then don't insert yourself into that situation, I guess.
But could that just be your craft?
Could be, I guess, to a certain extent.
I'm just asking. I personally don't see how that could happen.
I don't either.
Because even if you're not.
Because you're talking about a craft of neutral.
Right.
Of nothing.
Right.
Of not going anywhere. So you're not growing, you're not growing. You're not shrinking, but you're not growing either.
So I that's the reason why I'm asking. Is this a possibility?
I don't think so. I think there's too much stagnant there.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
All right. So whatever your practice is, know it.
Know it. I mean, if you're going to be an herbalist, be an herbalist. Know what in the world you're talking about. Show research or whatever behind it. I mean.
Right.
Just know it, I guess.
Okay. Learn and grow.
Well, we always learn. We always grow. And sometimes we learn the most from the most stupidest things.
Give an example. I hate to be that way, but I want to hear this.
It's the situations where things are a little odd and you're kind of like, whoa, wait a minute. When everything goes normal pattern, but it's when things go cockeyed.
Okay.
Then I think we learn more. All right. Just like, you were talking about the lady that didn't get the job.
Right.
Right. And you already knew, well, we talked about that in the previous one.
Right.
But you knew the pattern of behavior because this woman was training her superior.
Right.
So you knew what the pattern of behavior was already going to be done. Now, if by chance, let's say she didn't have a bad attitude about it, but had a wonderful attitude and did absolutely delightful training on this,
Mm-hmm.
100%, no bitching, no nothing.
Right.
That would be odd to you.
Yes, that would be very odd.
And you'd be sitting back going, well, now I got to ask questions.
Gotcha,
do you see
yeah.
what I'm saying? When things don't go what we expect them to go, that's when most people start asking questions.
Well, I'm either going to ask questions or I'm going to be like, oh, she's up to some shit right there. I'm not getting involved.
I mean, but do you understand what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
just seems like to me that the stuff that upsets, that goes against the grain. And we're not talking about good or bad or anything. It's just that behavior that you
So
don't.
it could be anything. It could be menial. It could be minimal. It could be.
It's looking at that kid that scrapes his knees and you expect them to cry, and then they just get up and run off.
Right.
And never do. And it makes you go, well, what the hell?
Right. Okay. Apply knowledge and wisdom.
What else is there to say?
All of these seem like just common sense.
You would think. I mean, wisdom is nothing more than experience.
Right.
All right? If there's a difference between knowing something and understanding something. Okay? Knowing how to use a microwave, I can use a microwave. Understanding the electronics behind and the theory and all that of the microwave, I've seen people take that microwave and turn them into guns and other things other than a microwave.
Right.
This is where wisdom lies. Taking that stuff and sometimes making things work together that
Could it be explained like it's the difference between book smart and street smart?
to a certain extent
Book smart would be the knowledge,
would be the
but
knowledge.
street smart would be the wisdom.
But street smart would be taking that knowledge you learned from the books and applying it to the streets.
Right. Therefore, but that's what I'm saying. That's where you gain the wisdom.
Right. Because again, you got to think about it like this. In college class, when you were at college and all this, they just taught you theory.
Right.
And they kept on repeating they were teaching you theory.
Right.
This is how it's going to work when it's perfect. You know, just like doing my electronics course. Oh, this is how it's going to go and it's going to work out great. And it never does.
No, it never does.
It never does. Because that's life. That's reality. This is where people have to learn to apply knowledge and wisdom.
Okay. Well, then we have achieve balance.
Yes. Achieve balance.
What is balance? And how do you achieve it?
Balance is balance between your life and religion, balance between, that you're getting, everything's getting equal amount of time.
Okay.
Just like in nature, there's a dark time. There's a time to rest. There is a time to be active. I hate to be that way. It's like that song.
To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season. Yep.
Same thing. It's just some of these seasons can be small and short.
Okay. Keep your words in good order.
Yes. Please, people, please.
What does that mean? Keeping your words in good order.
It means mean what you say and say what you mean.
Okay, so it's not like words come in a sequential sequence.
No. I mean, yeah. I mean, might as well just, go to one of the AIs and have them write you a random story about random things.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's not keeping your words. And do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To me, that's not. It's a slightly smarter monkey hitting a typewriter.
So it could also be speak ye little, listen much.
Yeah.
Think before you speak.
Yes.
All of those things.
Right. That way you're keeping your word and being honest, because it's really hard to keep the lies straight.
God, is it ever?
Been
there, done that. Not going to do it again.
If I don't like you, I don't like you.
Right.
No rub off me.
You don't like me? Bye.
Bye. Bye, Felicia.
Keep your thoughts in good order.
This is even better. Don't get me wrong. The older I get, yes, the harder it does to keep your thoughts in order.
Right.
It really does.
No, well, I mean, I hate to be this way. That's part of the aging process, and unfortunately, we all go through that at some point.
I mean, and I think it's a little worse for witches sometimes, because how many times have we had this? I think you had a conversation without me, but yet I still knew how you were going to answer.
Yeah. No, not familiar with that at all.
So you still have that going on with a little dementia, I guess. Start together. What do you get? Insanity.
Right. Not only is every day a new day, but hey, conversations never happened.
And you always meet a new person in the mirror. No. I mean, this is just nothing more than keeping your thoughts, what in the world you believe, in your head, and keeping those ordered and remembering those things.
Okay.
Who you are. You should be more proud of who you are than anything else, any labels or anything. Just be yourself.
All right.
I mean, why muddle yourself up by inserting other people's thoughts in there?
Well, you shouldn't. And yeah, I mean, if you're around a person long enough, you do pick up some of their mannerisms and some of the way they handle things and all of that, but you still need to maintain who you are.
Yeah.
You still need to be true to who you are.
Exactly. Just because your relationship with one person's this way doesn't mean that your relationship with everybody else will be the same way.
Exactly. All right. Celebrate life.
Oh, please celebrate life by living it.
Right?
Get offline. Stop listening to us. Go do cartwheels.
Right.
Break a hip.
Oh, Lord. We didn't tell you to do that.
I ain't paying for it.
Hell no. Shit's expensive. I should know I work in the health. I work in surgical services.
Oh, God. No. What else is there to say about that? Just go out, live life, do stuff, be active, do what you enjoy.
YOLO, you only live once.
Well, some of us do. Some of us come back repeatedly.
Right. No, but I mean, the point is that you only have this lifetime once.
As this person.
Right.
I mean, because
it will never happen again.
I mean, because if you think about it this way, if you've ever watched Doctor Who and his regeneration, this is sort of like if we could remember from one lifetime to another.
Yes.
But notice how the personalities change.
Right.
So majority of the times, like when, which I've been watching Doctor Who, okay, when Jeff, whatever, was leaving the first time as the Doctor and him getting all upset, I felt the emotion of that because it was the death of not the Doctor, but that personality.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but some of that personality carried over.
Well, yeah.
Some of it did.
Some of it did.
So it wasn't completely lost. But yeah, I can see that.
You know, if we were able to do that.
All right. Attune with the cycles of nature.
Oh, well, we just do rituals.
I know, I mean...
Well, I mean,
that's part of what we do.
We do it through ritual. We do it through meditation. You know, we do it by living life.
Right.
Because if you're out there living life, you're going to be forced to change your behaviors at certain times of the year. I mean, there's only so long you can wear that swimsuit before, well.
Right.
I mean, well, and you know, before it actually gets cold, I mean. And you start freezing off stuff, huh?
All right. Like, hey, we need to keep them a little longer. Breathe and eat correctly.
You see, I sort of wish he would put at the end of that for you.
Yeah, because I do believe that's different for everybody.
I know.
So there's no one correct way to do that.
No.
I mean, you still need to eat healthy. Don't put a lot of, according to this, don't put a lot of junk in your body.
No. I mean, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about people that are slightly obese or anything. Don't be the 600-pound man. Don't keep it within reason.
Right. But even some of those folks, they can't help it.
No. I mean, and I know there's problems and issues and stuff like that.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to gang up on somebody because they're slightly overweight.
Right.
But that's like not being obese, but it's also like not starving yourself to death either.
Right.
I mean, if you're going around looking like Skeletor, I'm just saying.
Hey, everybody's got goals. One stomach flew away.
One stomach flew away from my
perfect weight.
From my perfect weight.
Thank you, Devil Wears Prada.
If they didn't know we were gay before, they do now.
Right? Exercise the body.
Get out. Move.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean you have to hit the gym every fucking day.
No.
It just means get out. Move your body. Do something. Be physical.
Something. Be physical.
If you have a dog, take your dog for a walk.
If you have a cat, take your cat for a walk.
Some cats do that, but
I'm just trying to say how much motion you're going to have trying to put a damn leash on a cat. By the time you get that far along, you might be like, I'm done.
I'm done. I've had my exercise for the day. You ever had to take a cat to the vet? You know what we're talking about. Just saying. Oh, here's one. Meditate.
Really? You really want me to go there?
Please, you haven't said it in a while.
Meditation. Meditation is a wonderful thing. It should be done daily.
Yeah, I mean, we are joking a little bit here, but yes, meditation is important to your daily practice.
It really, I think it is. I think it's just really good for your mental health.
Yeah, I don't think it's just a goal. I think it's an integral part of what it is you're doing. All right, and then we have, last and not least, honor the goddess and God.
Do ritual. And do those. I mean, it becomes a whole lot easier to honor the gods when you're doing ritual.
Right. And, and honestly, the goddess and the god want you to be happy.
Again, doing ritual is the same thing that we say about everything else. Come as often as you can.
Right.
Come as many times as you can. All right? But just like anything else, if your ox falls into a ditch on Sunday, get your ox out. If it falls in your ditch every Sunday, either fill in the ditch or kill the ox.
Right.
And show up for ritual.
Right.
It's as simple as that.
But it also goes beyond ritual, I think. I think if you're living your life and you're following all of these goals,
well, for some reason,
I think you are, in essence, everything's led up to this one.
There's always this argument about if ritual's more important than belief. And these are actually called two different things. And I think the way it's argued drives me up the wall.
Right.
Because I see this problem as more of a chicken and the egg.
Right.
You're never exactly sure which came first, but one without the other just seems unusable to me.
Well, no, I agree with you there, but I'm just saying if you're following these other goals,
right,
everything here has it's been sequential.
Right. And again, doing all this stuff helps you attune yourself to the gods.
Right. So if you're doing your meditations, if you're living your life and celebrating life, if you're eating correctly, keeping yourself somewhat healthy, if you're doing all of these things, you are honoring the god and goddess.
Exactly. By living life.
Right. That includes rituals, celebrating the seasons.
This to us is not something we do. It is our life.
Right.
This is a daily thing. You can't get burnt out from your life.
No, for us, it is a way of living.
Right. It's not no magical formula that you do just on the weekends. It is a daily thing, an hourly thing.
Right. So, but yeah, I think honestly, if you're following all of these, they are sequential. Start with one, it will lead to the next one.
And the next.
And the next will lead to the next, yes. And it will be a domino effect. And then before you know it.
By the time you get to the last one, it's a whole lot easier because doing the other 12 helps. All
Absolutely. Right? Ready for the next topic?
Sure.
The all is one, and the one is all.
I remember we got a message a while back, and somebody seemed very confused about this.
Right.
I don't want to say confused, but it's like they'd never heard of the concept before.
Right, and it didn't quite register with them.
All right. So when we're talking about this, we're talking about deities.
Right.
And most people think this way. Either all the deities are individual beings like ourselves, and they all live on this one frequency, vibration, and power level.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
But then that means all the gods are individual gods. And then you run into the trope that you see in movies and TVs where they have multiple gods, like Supernatural. And, and where there's from different branches and stuff.
Right.
You get into that, my God's more powerful than your God thing. Well,
that, and you get, your God's trumping into my territory.
Yeah. I mean, and it's fine if that's the way you want to believe and all that, but that's where I see a problem there, is when you run across, okay, I'm sitting there and I believe in the North Pantheon.
Okay.
All right. And are those the only ones that exist? Or do the Tuatha De Danann exist too? I mean, if you're one of those solid, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You more likely you might have to be like the Christians. There's just God.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And in the subject. No. All those other false gods. Don't worship.
Right, which pretty much nullifies witchcraft.
Right.
I mean,
and nullifies the whole. I mean, this is the way it is in my head. I'm not saying I'm wrong or right. It's just the way I'm looking at it.
Right.
Am I confusing myself there?
I don't know, but somehow or another, I'm following along with it.
This is the problem where I see with multiple deities. All right. Now, some of us believe in a concept of there is only one source of creation.
Right. One power. One ultimate
thing.
Destination, if you will.
All right. And that this thing is so beyond us. It'd be like an ant trying to explain what an alien spaceship looks like.
Right.
It's just completely inconceivable here. There's nothing in our language. There's nothing in our brain that allows us to conceive of something so vast.
Okay.
And so therefore we turn that into deities that we understand. We make it mimic nature. Make sense?
Yeah, so it would be more akin to in Christianity, where people can't really grasp God,
but they can grasp.
And so Jesus came to earth to be the
right. Well, and the whole entire concept you have there in Christianity, again, of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost,
right,
actually being technically one being in and of itself.
Yes.
This is the way we think of the source. But like I said, we also are looking at it like we talked about in the astral plane, that everybody's going to perceive this thing in the way they understand it.
Okay.
All right, because you can't understand it, so your brain has to place it in something it can understand.
Right.
So hence the reason we have male and female deities.
Male and female, and hence the reason we have deities for this, deities for that.
Right. And the thought is that when we are, I know it sounds rough, but if we're sitting here calling up baller, we're looking at that, using that name, those philosophies, that myth and everything behind that to attune ourselves to that particular frequency of deity.
So it's like changing the station on a radio.
Same concept, but yes.
Tuning into a specific frequency to get country music or rock music or whatever.
And that these things are not divorced from one another. that hence the reason why in the world you do see a lot of the father God figures all seem to portray the same traits throughout history.
Right, and throughout different mythologies.
But, I mean, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's always a love goddess or a love god or something. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
These archetypes seem to stay the same because you hear a lot of people talk about Mars and, Hades being the same.
Yeah.
The gods of war. I'm screwing that completely up. I know I am. Yeah. But there's a lot of gods with a lot of similarities.
Right.
Like there's a lot of similarities between the Dagda and Odin. Even though they both have completely different stories and myths. But there are certain traits that seem to be common.
Right.
Some of them are kind of vaguish, but they're pretty much there. I mean, because I remember studying that. All of us know that certain deities seem to, from culture to culture.
Right.
So I know it's a hard concept to understand how in the world we're actually monotheism versus polytheism on this.
Yeah, I think that's an issue because so many people view paganism / witchcraft, whatever it is you're calling it, the religious side of this.
Don't get me wrong. There are covens and stuff out there that actually practice this way. I know there are people out there who honestly believe that the pantheon they're worshiping and that's it.
Right, but I'm just saying a lot of people. Well, still, even then, it's a pantheon.
Right.
It's still multiple deities.
Right.
So therefore, they're still being polytheistic.
Exactly.
And that's the way a lot of people view it. But what you're talking about is something not completely different, but it's different in the aspect that you're saying they still only come from one source.
Right. Because if you think about it this way, it's kind of like using the traps, the light traps to make the, what are those called?
The prisms?
Thank you. Using prisms to change that white light into multicolored lights.
Right.
The white light is the source, and
the
multicolored lights are all our different deities.
Right.
That's where this concept comes from, because we're tuning into a specific frequency vibration in this spectrum, which is basically the source of creation.
Right.
I mean, and this is something that, I truly believe goes beyond our reality. This thing permeates through multiple realities and,
right.
Parallel universes, and it is all of that.
Yeah. And I kind of like that idea because honestly, I mean, if you're going through the whole polytheistic view, then you've got so many deities from so many different cultures, and it's like, how do you choose? That's a lot of deities to go through to pick a singular set of deities to follow.
Well, see, now, and again, I could be wrong here, so if I'm about to piss off people, I'm sorry. I will admit I could be wrong, but from what I've been told and was taught was that Jews, or the Jewish religion, originally started out, they were polytheistic, but their deities were basically the seven dwarfs: ZZ, grumpy, happy, sad.
So
their deities were emotions. Each deity was an emotion in and of itself.
Okay. I can't speak to that, but that's interesting.
Well, the idea there is you're not necessarily tuning yourself to a specific deity. You're trying to attune yourself to a specific emotion.
Right.
All right. Like if you're wanting to understand anger, the way I understood it, they would sit there and literally pray upon anger and meditate upon this. It's the same thing that I see us doing when we're sitting there after we've meditated for a number of years and gone through our quote unquote shit cup.
Right.
Sitting there going, okay, I'm going to use this symbol to represent love, and then sit there and meditate every past event I felt loved.
And put it into that symbol.
To where when I see that symbol, I have nothing but pure love energy in me.
Right.
Same concept. And I still like this, and I even like this concept better than individual deities to a certain extent. Does that help? I mean, because the way we look at deities and stuff, I mean, you got war, which covers aggression and, security and all this other stuff.
Right.
And I know it kind of clumps some emotions together. So you can go to one deity for this whole entire range of emotions.
Right.
Just like going to Aphrodite for love. It was not just cardinal love, but, that home love too.
Right. That love of family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, could be wrong. But
Could
you
be.
said you were liking this?
Yeah, I like that idea because again, it's back to if you're trying to attune yourself, like a lot of people do, they want to work with a deity or a couple of deities, like a male and a female. And if you're trying to go through all these different pantheons to find one that you can relate to, or one that rings a bell with you, one that comes to you, whatever, you're going to spend a lot of time going through all of these pantheons.
Well, see, I also just think it removes some barriers for us, because when you start to think of deity this way, it removes that barrier. Maybe I shouldn't meditate on Christ. It removes that barrier. Now you can, because you're just tuning into a specific frequency.
Right, because we've actually had people ask us, well, what about Christ?
What about him?
Can pagans meditate?
Why not?
Can we use Christ in our rituals? Well, why not? They all come from the same source.
But my point there is, in our philosophy, to me, it removes that barrier to where we are allowed to step into these other religions and use their deities.
Right.
And their philosophies and stuff like that temporarily to gain that energy spectrum.
Right. Whether it be Christianity, Hindu, Buddhist, whatever.
Whatever. I mean, so the whole fight between deities and religion, to me, this starts to evaporate when you start looking at it this way.
Okay.
I understand some people, they believe what in the world they want.
Right, and this may not be a train of thought for everybody, but it's an effort to try and help.
Again, I'm not faulting. If you're sitting there and you're telling me you're wanting to follow this particular pantheon, I'm not going to kick you.
Right.
I might express this idea and see what you think about it, and you might just throw it off to the side like it's just crap, and I just believe in the Three Stooges as deity, and screw you.
Right, and then again, you may come back to it later and be like, well, I've gone through all these other deities, and you know what? I've come to this conclusion.
Exactly. Again, this is something that takes some experience in working with. And I think the majority of the time what happens is when we're kind of got foots in two different places, we start to realize that two pantheons, because I see a lot of people who do pantheons of Celtic and Norse real close together.
Right.
And because the ties are pretty close there. Not exact by any stretch.
Oh, no, not by any stretch of the imagination.
But I can see a Norse getting a little upset with me for calling Thor into one of mine and going, well, you shouldn't do that.
Well, and I've also known people throughout the years who have mixed their god and goddess.
Oh, God, yes.
They might take a Greek goddess and put it with a Norse god.
So, I mean, if they're individual, I mean, how upsetting is that to the one you don't believe in?
Right. I mean,
again, I'm like with you. This is why I like this idea. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. All right. This is why I like it.
Right.
It doesn't limit me as much. Yeah, the majority of the times, me personally, when I'm doing my personal things, I feel like I relate more to the Tuatha De Danann
right.
than I do any of the others. It's just easier for me to relate. But to me, this is like in a song.
Sure, yeah. It's not going to be for everybody.
Right.
Everybody's going to, get something different out of it.
I mean, there's a lot of songs that I like and nobody else wants to listen to.
Same here.
I mean, considering one of my favorite albums is The Hair.
Not saying I hate it.
Just be careful where you're playing it.
Right. Don't want to play it out in public too much.
But do you got any other thoughts on this?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up. I mean, when I started on my path, it was kind of intimidating with trying to find something that fit with me. And I don't know, once I started hearing the idea that we were just talking about, and I believe it's also been that you have also put it as they're two sides of the same coin.
No. How that saying goes is all gods are one god. All goddesses are one goddess, and the god and goddess are just two sides of the different sides of the same coin.
Right. But still, it comes back to the coin. The coin is your source.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what you do beyond that, it's still
that coin.
Right. And that made it so much easier for me to relate to more of what we were doing and what I was studying and what I was learning. And I don't know, it just made it easier. It was less intimidating. I didn't have to worry about.
Well, now with you saying it like that makes me wonder. I can see where people would find this intimidating, because now it's not just, hey, I'm going to learn this one pantheon, and that's it.
Well, true.
Now I have the whole scope of the whole entire world of every religion ever taught.
Right, but see, for me, it was, okay, I relate to Anubis.
Right.
Right. I've always had an affinity for Anubis, but I didn't necessarily know his counterpart.
But I hate to be this way, but your connection to other deities that represent the same thing aren't as strong.
No, they're not. But my point is, I didn't have a counterpart for him.
No.
But then it came to the point where I realized, okay, well, it doesn't have to be Egyptian.
No.
And I don't even follow an Egyptian path. I just relate to Anubis.
Yeah, but no.
And so that was kind of, that was kind of like a mindfuck.
But that's my point.
This made it easier to deal with.
But that's part of my point. This is why I hate to be this way, because you don't have that relationship with all the other death deities.
Right.
Male, female, whatever. We're just a whole category.
Right.
As you do with Anubis, makes me think that you are sitting at that for some reason you spiritually, or your soul is sitting at a frequency that seems to resonate or complement this deity. And that's why in the world you're able to get closer with that one versus all the other ones.
Right.
I just think that's wild. But when you start to think about it like that you're listening to a specific musical tone or a musical note.
Right.
Or something versus everybody else. I mean, again, and I hate to be this cold and callous about it, but if we think about the names of deities, it's just the names of radio stations.
Right.
This whole entire idea comes to be a whole lot easier. And you're just using that name and those myths and legends to attune yourself to that.
Right. Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another episode. Pagan Coffee Talk is brought to you by Life Temple and Seminary. Please visit us at lifetempleseminary.org for more information, as well as links to our social media: Facebook, Discord, Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit.
We travel down this trodden path, a maze of stone and mire. Just hold my hand as we pass by a sea of blazing pyres. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning breaks. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with